Hello, my name is Carla. Welcome to my channel. If you saw the title, this is obviously going to be a few days of mood reading whatever I want because last week's video was rough. I read books that I've been putting off. I read 3 books for the last video and nothing was above 3 stars. I had 1 3-star and 2 2-star reads. And actually one of them I put down to 1 star on Goodreads after that was done because I was thinking about it and I was like, this is one of the worst books I've ever read. So this week on mood reading, and I'm really excited because I can read whatever I want, and I'm gonna try to kind of keep it with my TBR for February, but if it doesn't stay that way, I don't really care right now because I just want to get good reading in so that I don't put myself in a slump. I started yesterday. I am actually reading 2 books right now, which I don't ever do. I kind of hate doing that. I only did it with The Hobbit last year because it took me a long time to read that book, but I'm gonna give it a try because I'm trying to read 1 classic book every month, and last month I read Little Women and it took me about 4 or 5 days, but I found it just a little bit slow and wished that I had another book on the go that was just like a little bit more fast-paced and easy reading. So that's what I'm doing now. So I thought I could do my classic like before bed or whenever I feel like reading something a little bit slower. So I started Northanger Abbey yesterday by Jane Austen on my Kindle. I do have a physical version of this book. It's in like a book of her works though, and I think there's 4 or 5 books in there and it's the last one. So it's really chunky and it would just be like the end of it. It's very pretty, but I have this on my Kindle from Prime Reading, so it was free. So I'm reading it on there. And I think I got about 7 pages in and fell asleep. Not a testament to the book because it's actually starting off quite well. I really like Jane Austen. I'm trying to read her whole backlist this year, and I only have this one in Mansfield Park left. And then there's the one that she never finished before she died, but I haven't added that to the list because I'm not sure if I'll read it. I think she only got a few chapters in. I made it 6 pages, and then this morning actually I woke up quite early and didn't want to turn on the light and wake up Zach, so I read a few more pages. We are following Catherine, and she is out in society, and I guess she has lots of older brothers, and then she's the first girl in her family and has some younger sisters. This couple close to her family have taken her to Bath with them so that she can be out in a different society, I guess. And she met a boy and now she hasn't seen him again, and it's been like a week and a half, and she doesn't know why she hasn't seen him again because she thought that he was interested in her. And that's all I know so far. And it's quite good. I'm actually so curious what's going to happen already, which is great. I think that Jane Austen is a beautiful writer. Pride and Prejudice is one of my favorite books. I read it all the time. That's a lie. I've read the book twice. I listen to the audiobook quite often at work because it just is so beautiful. And obviously the movie. I'm actually excited to keep reading it tonight and to see what happens, which is very cool. It's interesting writing because she is kind of talking about writing in it. Because there's this whole thing about, yes, my heroines love to read, and isn't it stupid that these authors are writing books where their main characters don't love to read and they think it's beneath them, but you're writing this book, and isn't that kind of ironic? Like, she has a whole paragraph, like a few pages about that, and this is something we're still dealing with, which is why I think it's so funny, because when people are like, what are you reading? And you're reading a romance, often you say, it's just a romance book. No, it's amazing. Like, writing and reading is so cool, and she nailed it on the head 200 years ago. Like, I think that's so wonderful. I also highlighted something else. It's talking about men. I shall not pay them any such compliment, I assure you. I have no notion of treating men with such respect. That is the way to spoil them. She's funny. Okay, Jane Austen is funny. So this is the first book I'm currently reading, which is so fun. And it was on my February TBR. And the second book I'm reading is also on my February TBR. And I started it today, and that is Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. If you've watched all my other videos, you know that I have only tried to read 1 book by them, and I DNF'd pretty early on because I didn't like it. I'm trying to remember which one it was. I just really didn't like the female main character, and it just was kind of cringy right from the get-go. And this one I was scared was going the same way because as soon as I finished the first 2 chapters, I realized it's a now and then timeline. And those are generally my least favorite and hard to follow because going back and forth, I get that she's like reliving her past as it's happening 15 years later at the same time of year, I guess. But I wish they would just go through the history and then go through the new, like this was my childhood and this is my now. I don't love a now and then. This is okay. It's short enough chapters and different enough and long ago enough that it's okay, but they keep alluding to like this thing that happened and you don't know what it is until the end. And I struggle with that because if it wasn't actually that big of a deal, it's really gonna bother me that I waited the whole book to know what it was. You know, she's like, we haven't talked in 15 years because he did this thing. And we don't know what that thing is. Like, if it's just that he had a reason for doing it and didn't just send her a text or write her a letter or whatever and said, this is why I did that, and it was easily explainable, I'm gonna be really mad. That's my problem right now. My other problem is you find out in chapter 1 that she's engaged. And seeing him has brought on all of these emotions. And I'm really scared she's gonna cheat on her fiance. And I don't think there's anything redeemable in that, and it's gonna make me not like her. So those are the two things I'm struggling with. Other than that, I'm enjoying the writing. I'm enjoying the story. I like Elliot, the male main character. He is very blunt and probably on the spectrum in quite an obvious way, but I appreciate it for what it is. I think he says it like it is. I don't know how I feel about it yet. I don't dislike it. I'm obviously going to keep reading, but I am worried for what's to come, I guess is what I'm saying. I also feel like they're trying to get as many well-written sentences as they can in that it doesn't feel authentic. I don't even know if that makes sense, but some of the sentences are just like trying too hard. I don't know what that means, and I don't know if that's true. It's like they're trying to write beautifully instead of just writing beautifully. Not to say that there's some things that I've already tapped, because I think it's wonderful, and I think it's doing a great portrayal of grief because her mother died when she was very young. I don't know. I'm so curious what I'm gonna think. So that's where we're sitting. 2 books. I literally never read 2 books at once, so I'm gonna see how it goes. It's like 4:30. Should I have a decaf? Do I just want a coffee for the vibes? Yeah, I'm gonna have a decaf latte. All right, so I have read another 100 pages and I'm about halfway through now, and I'm feeling better about both the now and then timeline and the fear of cheating problems I had. I think I am still struggling because it got to a point where like they want you to think that her fiance is a really great guy and really level-headed and it's a mature relationship. Then you dig a little deeper, obviously. But I really love Elliot. I'm really liking the young him and the old him. At first I was kind of annoyed by their 15, 16, 17-year-old conversations that were flashing back to, and then I realized at that age I actually was less mature than they're being. Like, you get crazy teenage conversations and you have these friendships with people who you have crushes on, and I guess it's just like the underlying tension that's there and you don't want to talk about it because then you won't be friends anymore. And I also dated my high school best friend and it did ruin our friendship. So like I totally understand this, and it's just kind of a very well written teenage experience, I think, of first love. And it's also really cool reading that now they're my age. I love reading about actual adults instead of young adults sometimes. So I can't put it down. So that's a good sign. I don't think it's my favorite contemporary romance I've ever read, but I am still thinking that it's an easy read, and I will definitely finish it today because I can't put it down, and it's only like 6 o'clock and I just want to keep going. So, and Zach also came home with a space heater for me, so now it is getting warmer in here already and it's wonderful. We still don't know what happened, so I'm curious if I will feel the same way I do now once we find out why they had a falling out. And I hope we don't find out right at the end. I hope it's like the last few chapters are now, because every chapter so far has gone back and forth. I'm definitely enjoying reading about their teenage years more than the present. It's difficult to read in Macy's head because she's struggling with life, and I think she has some demons she hasn't worked through yet, which is fine. I'm gonna finish this book tonight and hopefully get back to you tomorrow with my final thoughts. So we will see.
2 hours later.
I'm at the end and I'm pissed off. I don't know if I like Elliot anymore. I don't hate him anymore. Fuck. Done. Good morning. It's the next day. As you saw, I finished Love in Other Words yesterday. A book that I can read in one day is good to me. That's what I was looking for, just to keep me wanting to read, which I do. I really, really did enjoy this book. I think everything I said still stands, and I went back and forth between liking our main characters and not liking them. It's kind of difficult because you try to decide how much grace you would give to these people for the decisions they made if they were in your life, and for both of them, I would give them a lot of grace. I, in the end, rated this 4.5 stars. I cried. And I laughed. There were some really funny parts. I think Elliot and Macy's sense of humor together is really wonderful. I did really love it. It lost a half star because, like I said, the back and forth and now and then of the dual timeline kind of felt disjointed at times to me, and I will always struggle with a now and then timeline unless it's really well done, and usually it has to include other characters or letters or diaries instead of these characters back and forth and back and forth. The biggest reason it's not a 5-star is because this might be a spoiler, so maybe just skip ahead a couple of minutes if you don't want to know anything about the book. But the way that they just kind of brush over Elliot's sexual harassment, like he was definitely sexually assaulted, and it's just brushed over, and she still has to find time to forgive him. But he should have to find time to forgive her for not listening and understanding that he went through something super traumatic, and they kind of just pretend that he cheated on her, but he was sexually assaulted. I cannot read a book 5 stars that just has a teenage boy being sexually assaulted and just pretends that he cheated. I don't know. I don't know that I see them working out wonderfully long term because they still didn't really talk about their feelings, and she is still such a bad communicator. So I'm not sure what that's going to mean for their relationship in their 30s, but I mean, the book ended and they were happy at the end. So maybe I just have to leave it where it is and be okay with how it ended. I'm still not going to eagerly pick up another Christina Lauren book because the one I DNF'd and this one had the same things that just were not my favorite. I don't know if their characters are my favorite. I love a flawed character. Macy didn't have enough good traits for me to root for her the whole time. I think Elliot can do better, if I'm being honest. So that is 4.5 star read. That is the first book done. So I'm going to put it on my shelf because I'm right here. All right. I did not read more of Northanger Abbey. I think I finished this book around 9 or 9:30, and then I watched Set It Up on my laptop in bed. That is like my comfort rom-com movie. I think it's so cute. It's on Netflix if you haven't watched it. But now I gotta pick a book that I want to read right now. And I have no idea what I'm in the mood for. I'm thinking not fantasy. I might want another romance, maybe like a YA romance, or wouldn't mind something kind of thrillery. My TBR cart's looking kind of empty. I want to read one of the most recent ones I bought, I think. Or maybe I'll read another Narnia book. I was really sad I didn't get one on my TBR for the month. If I'm being honest with myself, I want to do a YA romance. So I'm thinking I should read Gwen and Art Are Not in Love. I bought this for when I was trying to read as many Goodreads 2024 books as I could for like the finalists, and it didn't come in time, so I never put it in the video. But it's been hundreds of years since King Arthur's reign. His descendant Arthur, a future lord and general Gadabout, has been betrothed to Gwendolyn. Right, I think it's arranged marriage, but both of them are queer, so they don't want to marry each other. I think this is my next book. It's a beautiful cover as well. I will be reading it without the dust jacket. Good morning. It's the next day. I am about 100 pages into Gwen and Art Are Not in Love, and I'm really enjoying it. I think it's very cute. As soon as I start talking, you want the pets, hey? We are in Camelot with Arthur of the Round Table's ancestors is what I'm getting. Ancestors? Descendants. Descendants is what I'm getting. It's like hundreds of years later, which is, I think, what it said in the synopsis. Gwen and Art have been promised to each other by their parents since they were toddlers, babies, since she was born, and he's like 2 years older than her. And they knew each other for a while as kids and hated each other and always pulled pranks on one another and just didn't get along. Just a couple chapters in, she catches him kissing another boy. I think it's the year that they're supposed to get married now, and they still don't like each other. And yeah, she catches him kissing someone, and she is a little bit dense and doesn't kind of put 2 and 2 together, but she really just wants to threaten him so that they don't have to get married. And she's like, whatever, I don't care if it ruins his life. At least I won't have to marry this person that I don't want to. And he then finds an old diary of hers that kind of puts them in the same position. So they kind of have a deal right now to just seem like they're nice to each other. And she's like, I guess it will end with us getting married, but at least we understand each other and there's not going to be any expectations out of this marriage. It's kind of the point that we're at now. Arthur is fun. He's very fun in A Knight's Tale kind of way. This book, the whole beginning kind of reminds me of the movie A Knight's Tale, which I haven't watched in like years, but now I kind of want to when I'm done reading this, because they're at like the king's, I don't even know what they call it, like the king's games, like they're jousting and fighting and the knights are all doing their stuff for the king and the royal family, and she is attracted to the only female knight, and it's just kind of a fun dynamic. But Arthur knows it and he keeps using it to get them close to each other, but she's like, I don't want to publicly be close to this woman. And that's kind of where we're sitting right now. I thought that it was going to be between Arthur and her brother, so I'm still waiting for that, because it does say that he's not interested. Her brother Gabriel is not interested in any other women whenever they try to come over to him and try to get his attention. So I'm guessing that's where it's going to go pretty soon, but we're not there yet. It is dual POV. Every other chapter switches back between Arthur and Gwen, which I love. I don't have much else to say yet. I'm really enjoying it. I'm a quarter of the way through. It's just so cute. It's so cute. I am not a huge fan of Gwen, but I think that's on purpose. Like, I'm hoping that there's going to be a lot of character development, and it's just because she doesn't really know herself yet and doesn't really believe in herself. Like, something just happened where she probably could have pulled her rank and gotten people to do what they should have, and just was too scared to take a step. So it was like one of those things where, do you fight or flight or freeze? And she's someone who freezes. And I'm hoping that there will be some character development and eventually she'll be the person who says something when she should. But we're not there right now. And she's just kind of annoying. I forget if she's like 17 or 18, and royal princess, right? She just kind of gets whatever she wants and acts like it, and I don't love that. But Arthur's really fun, and his squire, what's his name, Sydney, is really fun as well. It's just a fun book. I'm giggling a lot. I'm having fun. It's not iconic. It's not the best book I've ever read, but it is very fun, and it's exactly what I needed to keep me wanting to read today. So I'm excited to keep going. I do have a few things I should do today because I'm back to work tomorrow and we have no food in this house, so I should still go grocery shopping. But I'm gonna read as long as I can. I'm hoping to finish this closer to this morning, and I am just counting down until Gwen becomes a little bit more bearable and her chapters are easier to read, because right now she's the one holding me back from just wanting to binge it. But I'm going to try anyway. It's a few hours later and I am still having so much fun. This book is so fun. I also am a little bit more lively now. I was definitely half asleep this morning, I realized as I was chatting with you. I have a little over 100 pages left. I got to this point and I'm definitely gonna finish this now, probably. What time are we at? 3 o'clock. So maybe walking them in between, because I usually do that around 3:30 or 4. Other than that, definitely finishing this today. It's still reminding me of A Knight's Tale, a little less, but Sydney and Arthur's relationship, which is the male main character, Arthur, and his squire, Sydney, their relationship is so Knight's Tale that I definitely have to watch it for sure. I still don't love Gwen, but she's better. She's easy to like when she's with Bridget, but any other time I find her very difficult, and it's because she puts up this front, right? Because she's a woman in these olden days where she doesn't think she'll be heard or listened to, so she doesn't even try. And then her automatic response to everything is anger. And those are my least favorite characters, usually the ones that are not grumpy, but just kind of mean. And she's just kind of mean. But she's growing on me. But Arthur is still a lot better. And Arthur and Gabriel, her brother, I just love their dynamic. I realized that one of the best things about this book is that you get 3 relationships, because you have the budding relationship of your 2 main characters, which is enemies to friends, I guess, is what you're looking at here. And in any normal book, that would be enemies to lovers, and that would be the whole thing. But you also get their romantic relationships with their partners. So you have 3 beautiful relationships, 2 romantic, 1 platonic, and they're all different. And on top of that, there's this subplot that's a little bit political and took some getting used to, and I think it's very predictable, but still fun to read, and it adds this extra dynamic that I think the story needs. Maybe it's not predictable and I'm going to be surprised, but either way, I think it's fun. Hey, you fit where you can, right? Yeah, so it's definitely not groundbreaking, but it is so much fun, and I'm glad that this is the book I chose because I'm having a lot of fun. And I'm actually kind of sad that it's going to be done soon, which is the sign of a good book. That is my update. I will talk to you again in about 120 pages, and we'll see how I feel then. It is a couple of days later. I finished When in Art Are Not in Love on Monday, the day that I said I was going to, right? Yeah. And then I didn't read it all yesterday. We had a little impromptu date night, so I spent the night with Zach. So I've had a couple of days to stew on my thoughts of this book, And I think that's kind of good because I actually feel the same about it as I did 2 days ago, and sometimes things change. And I'm giving this an enthusiastic 4 stars because it was just a lot of fun. I had so much fun with this book. I had that experience where I actually went and read the low reviews, like the 1 and 2 stars, and I totally disagreed with people. Sometimes you read them and you're like, oh, you know what, they have a point. I didn't feel that way. I'm glad that even though it was young adult, it was like they were 18, 19 years old, so it still felt adult enough. I think that it was just a whole lot of fun, and now I am going to try to find The Knight's Tale this weekend and watch it somewhere, if I can find it. There is one review that was low that said it can be related to like a CW show, and I think that's a good thing. It made it that much more fun. I will say I never really grew to love Gwen. She made some decisions that I actually appreciated, but I still don't think that I would be her friend. I don't think we get along as a person, but I can still respect her as a character in this book. I understand her relationships with everybody and why they don't feel the same as me. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. The thing is that like I don't really know why I'm rating it 4 stars other than 2 thumbs up, read it in 48 hours and had a lot of fun. Like I said, the political stuff was pretty predictable, but it was still enjoyable. It kept me out of my head thinking about my life and didn't make me anxious. So I appreciate that. And sometimes battle scenes in a book like this where like it's Camelot sword battle on horseback, I actually get kind of bored, but this was the right amount of pages for that climax part of a battle in a book. And also, like I said before, I appreciate the breadth of relationships that you get in this book. So I think it's so much fun that you can root for 3 separate relationships, whether they're platonic or romantic. I also wish we got a little bit more of Gabriel, her brother. I don't know, he's a very surface level character in this book, and Arthur likes him. So I'm curious what that means moving forward because I don't actually see the depth of their relationship. I wish there was a little bit more of him. Maybe I even wish it was his perspective because I like him as a person better than Gwen. Like if you're gonna pick a sibling, maybe they should have been from like Gabriel and Gwen's perspective. No, I like Arthur a lot. I think Arthur was the right choice. Anyway, really fun book, 4 stars. I had so much fun with it. I'm also gonna say I haven't read that almost came out British. I haven't read more of Northanger Abbey. I think maybe like 1 or 2 chapters more, but nothing worth just like talking about right now. I am doing what I said I hate, and I'm reading 2 Kindle books. I started this morning, let me get it. This morning, I started reading The Song of Achilles. I only read the first chapter. I had a little bit of time before work, so I was like, let me just start reading this book. And I read the first chapter, and I'm not sure how I'm gonna feel about the writing. It's very staccato so far, and it is in first person, which I don't prefer, but I will read. I don't have anything against it. I just prefer a third person book. I don't know anything about it. I've only read 1 chapter. So I'm not even gonna say anything, but this is the book we are reading next. So I'm gonna lock in and I'm gonna do some Kindle reading. Hi, I am weary in posting this and filming this right now, but I'm at a point in The Song of Achilles where I kind of have to talk about what's going on because I'm getting to something huge. I'm like 43-ish% through. I didn't read much yesterday. I don't know if you can tell with glasses on. I hope you can't tell with glasses on. I had another severe allergic reaction out of nowhere at about 5 p.m. and then spent the rest of the night in the hospital and then came home and went to bed. So I didn't read anything yesterday. I'm behind. I was hoping to get this video up last night or this morning, like 2.5 hours left of my book. This is not fun. Like, I'm so frustrated and I don't know what's going on. And now I've been to the allergist twice, who has just referred me to a more specialist allergist, and it could take half a year to a year to get in. That's besides the point. I just hate filming when I look like this, and I don't know. I want to stay on track because I have a plan for like my videos for the next 6 weeks, and I just don't know what to do. But I have a very loving dog. Yep. She loves her cuddles. She wants love. Hey, my cuddle bug. I usually like to get the videos up like between Wednesday and Friday, and now I think this is going to be the 2nd Saturday in a row. But that's okay. That's why I didn't put it up on time last week. I had an allergic reaction on Thursday night and I looked like this all day Friday, and I was like, I can't. This is the reality of my life right now, though. It's just something I have to deal with probably weekly until we figure it out. Anyway, let's talk about The Song of Achilles. I think when I had said I was reading this book, I had only read the first chapter, and I said the first person writing might not be my favorite, and it's a little bit staccato writing. A bit stilted and like sentence, like broken up sentences, it feels like. And I'm still feeling that way about all of it. The writing is not my favorite. I feel like I'm 90% of the time just being told what's going on. The story could be so much better than it is, I think, if it was written by someone else, which is so unfortunate. I hate saying that. It's just lacking some poetic style, I guess. But we are following Achilles and Patroclus is our main character's name, and he is Achilles' right-hand man, I guess. I didn't know anything about this book going in. I had no idea what I was in for. I was just like, I love historical fiction. I liked learning about the gods when I was in university. Let's see where this goes. And it is a love story. I actually was not expecting a love story at all. It's beautiful. It is. The story is beautiful. I am struggling when it's not, I guess, is the problem. Patroclus at the beginning of the book is perceived to be stupid by his father and unloved by his father. Eventually something happens and he has to go live with Achilles and his father, who's another king of another area. Achilles takes a liking to him and says this is, I guess, I forget what they call them, but it's like some kind of companion, and his dad's been waiting for him to choose his, and he chooses Patroclus, and nobody really knows why. And then what follows is a love story. The way that it comes on is so innocent and realistic, and I actually think it's really beautiful. Achilles' mother is a god of the sea, and she is scary. I'm kind of picturing what's Jennifer Lawrence's character in X-Men? For some reason I keep picturing her blue, but I think she's super pale and just wears a blue dress, but I'm picturing her blue. Anyway, it's kind of weird, but now the point that we're at is Helen of Troy was just kidnapped, so the war is beginning and everyone is trying to get Achilles to fight because he is the best warrior of their time. So that's kind of the point that I'm at. So I'm like, I should probably stop. I should get you guys up to speed before I keep reading. I could use some B-roll. I'm hesitant to get it because I won't want to edit myself looking like this. I'm just so self-conscious, and I'm not an overly self-conscious person, and I'm just like so over it. I could cry if I wanted to. I'm not going to. Anyway, I'm going to finish this in the next 2.5 hours. I'm going to take some more allergy meds, so let's watch the progress of this going down. It was much worse yesterday. This was before I left for the hospital, and this was at the hospital when it was starting to go away because they gave me better meds. Anyway, now I'm just yapping about nothing. I'm gonna keep reading. I am gonna do a little bit of B-roll, but maybe I'll just make it my book with the dog. I forgot to mention that there is a training session in like a couple of years where they stay with, oh, I totally forget his name, but he's a centaur, and it is so reminiscent of me to in Hercules the cartoon. That's the only thing I can compare it to. When the little, he's not a centaur, is he more like a Mr. Tumnus goat style guy, teaches Hercules everything about fighting and everything he knows, and I just kept picturing that scene with this character, and it was very cool. But I just read another few pages, and I think things are really changing, and they're going from boys to men. I am worried for Patroclus because so far his only defining characteristic in his life is being Achilles' person. It's everything he is the companion of Achilles. Every choice he's made since he's met him has been to be with him and do what he needs him to do. And I'm really worried as they go into this war, what that means for him moving forward. I just thought I'd mention that because I think it's going to be a big plot point for the next second half of the book. Him finding purpose outside of Achilles. This book is not about Achilles. It's about Patroclus loving Achilles, but I think the author would have chosen to make it from Achilles' perspective if that was what they wanted to do. I'm just going to leave that there for now and finish this. Okay, so I just finished reading The Song of Achilles. It's 11:30 and I'm still in bed. Yes, I'm kind of treating it like a sick day because I just feel so blah. Okay, I said I went into this book knowing nothing. The only thing I knew was that people found it so emotional. So I really thought that it would be like completely gut-wrenching to me, and it just wasn't. I think I never quite got past the writing style, and if anything, it just made me angry. I appreciate the last 10% the most. I'd say from like 40 to 60%, I was completely bored, and it actually kind of felt like the middle book of a trilogy where it's very political. It was a lot of war and fighting, which is fine, but this was like trying to create this hierarchy between all of the armies. So it was important to the story, but like we already know Achilles from the first half of the book. I don't need to be reminded over and over about how good of a fighter he is. It just like was really drilled in, and I was kind of bored. And then at 60% we get a new character. I don't know how to pronounce her name, something like Beryllus or something. And I was like, great, the tides are changing. We're getting a little bit more dimension in this story. And it was a little bit short-lived because she just kind of became another background character, which I was hoping she would be more main character energy with the front two. I still like Patroclus. What I said is kind of true at my last little check-in, just like there was no part of him without Achilles. You never know really who he is as a person without Achilles. And I guess that's where the romance part of this comes in, and it's like a tragic romance story in that way. I also am just pretending I'm pronouncing his name right. Patroclus? I don't know. I did really like the last 10% of this book. There was some unexpected alliance that kind of grew, but it was more just like acceptance more than alliance, I guess. I think I will continue to think about this book, but more just like dwell on the choices that were made. I don't know what I think about it, honestly. I enjoyed the story. I think I went in with higher expectations than I should have, so I am actually only giving this a 3-star rating. I'm not sure if that will go up or not, depending on if I think about it again. I'm just gonna leave it there for now. I don't want to give too much airtime to this. I will say I haven't continued to read Northanger Abbey yet. I'm going to read that this weekend, though. I think I should just finish it this weekend. Maybe now after I eat lunch or something. Hopefully that comes up in the next video. I am definitely going to start finishing my February TBR next, because there's a few more books on there that I would like there to be, so I kind of just need to go ham and read the rest of the week when I can. Thanks so much for watching. I hope it turned out okay. I just feel so weird and blah, and I just am very frustrated that this is my life right now, so I'm finding this difficult to give as much energy to as I would like to. But I hope you enjoyed it anyway, and I will see you next week.